Hi everybody, thank you for signing up to take part in Thursday evening's virtual cocktail masterclass with top 50 cocktail bars. I'm Ryan here at Cuckoo Chester with our kind of makeshift studio to help you guys at home learn a little bit more about making cocktails and setting up your own home bar setup. Now I'm going to be going through all the tools that we need so that when we do get to the session on Thursday evening, we can get straight into making the cocktails. So we'll get straight into it. First we're going to need a Boston glass and tin. Now, a lot of these tools you'll tend to get when you buy like a kind of cocktail set. Some are a little bit more advanced, but we do have some alternatives. But we've got a cocktail glass and tin. Now, the way we do this, we put all of our ingredients into the Boston glass, ice it up. You want as much ice as possible, so make sure you've got loads in the freezer ahead of Thursday. The tin goes on top. Give it a nice big tap to it. Make sure you've made a seal. You don't want this all exploding over yourself. Hand underneath and one hand wrapped around, and you give it a nice big shake. Now, there are some alternatives of tools that you can use. You can use a jam jar. You can get all the ingredients in, fill it with ice. Just make sure you've given the jam jar a nice good scrub beforehand so there's no residue of whatever it may have contained beforehand. You can also use like a gym shaker. You know, like those protein shakes. That's absolutely fine to use as well. And some of you may have other kinds of cocktail shakers. We have a cobbler here, like a 3-piece cobbler. Absolutely anything that you can get all the ingredients in to allow you to shake it and mix it all up. That's absolutely perfect. It's down to you. Now, not all of our drinks are shaken. So we are going to need a mixing glass for some of these. I've got a lovely cocktail mixing glass here, but you can use just a straight pint glass, anything that's nice and straight that allows you to fill it up with ice. You can then get your lovely long cocktail bar spoon. You can get that in, and what this does, it allows you to stir the drinks, but because it's nice and long, it stops your fingers getting into the cocktail, making it all grubby. Now, when you stir, you want to keep the spoon on the edge of the glass at all times, and you're going to do some nice revolutions all the way around. It's all in like the wrist and fingers, really, but you just want to be spinning it around with that. I bet that sounds horrible to you guys at home. And I'll be letting you know each session how many times roughly you want to be stirring, but that does all come down to personal taste. Now, an alternative for a bar spoon, you might have some really nice long kind of ice cream spoons or latte spoons. They tend to work really well. Now, to actually measure in our cocktail, I'm using a cocktail jigger. I've got 25 millilitres on one side, which is 1 shot, and 50 millilitres on the other side, which is 2 shots. But you can use whatever you like at home. I'm not saying go wild, drink responsibly, but as long as you're aware what you want to use as one part, or I'm going to be using 1 shot per 1 part. You can do whatever you like at home. Now we have our Mexican elbow. This is for getting a really nice, fresh citrus juice. You always want your citrus juice to be as fresh as possible, as it gives you the highest quality of cocktail. What you do, you just chop your lemon, lime, orange, whatever we're using, grapefruit maybe some weeks, in half, into the Mexican elbow and give it a good squeeze. Now, you can just use your hand if you don't have a Mexican elbow, or you might have some hand juicers that my grandma used to use one to make orange juice. Now, we have our Hawthorne strainer. What this does, it goes on our cocktail tin once we finished using it. Put your index finger on top and wrap your hand around like so. And what that does, it allows us to pour our cocktail into the glass without any of the cubes of ice falling in. These cubes have already started to dilute. They've already been broken down by shaking, and we want the highest quality of ice every time, so we put fresh ice in the glass all the time. Now, if you are making a drink that goes in a martini glass, you want it to be really nice and crisp. So what we're going to do is use a fine strainer. You might just have a sieve at home, and we just use that in one hand and pour over like so. Really easy. Next up, we have a muddler. This allows us to absolutely pulverize anything in our path. We can use this to really grind up some fruit or sugars to help dilution with that. Getting towards the end now, a bar blade, it's always just good to have it handy. When you're doing this setup, you want to make sure you've got it all good and ready to go, so you're not running back and forth to the kitchen trying to find things. Set up your mise en place, you're good to go. So we have our bar blade, it's pretty obvious what this is for. And then last but not least, it's handy just to have a good chopping board, and I've just got a simple fruit knife. We don't need to go crazy with it, but it might help us make some fun and exciting garnishes, depending on what the cocktail we're going to be making that week is. So thank you for that, guys. Feel free to rewatch this video and make sure you've got everything you need, and I'll see you all on Thursday night. Take it easy.